Engine 1 from Car 1. Car 1's on scene at Subin Command. Give me a CAN report.
Hello, everybody. It's Mike Goldstein, Stickers of the CAN Report. Mazel tov, y'all. Coming in from New Hampshire, and I've got Georgia on my mind. I've got Jared Robinson from Elite Fire Training joining me this evening, talking about what he does, who he is, and all the good things of Jared Robinson. Thank you so much, man, for coming on the show.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, it's great having you. This will be the second time we've tried this. First time didn't work so well, so the second time's a charm.
I hope. Right.
We'll hope and pray. We'll make it happen. Jared, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you being on here. It's I love talking to you.
Same, man. We hit it off pretty quick.
Yeah, we did. Absolutely, we did. So we are going to jump into your bio, and we'll just talk about who you are real quick here. So Jared Robinson is a dedicated firefighter with over 22 years of experience in the fire service. He began his career in 2003 as a volunteer with the Gordon County Fire Department and was hired full-time in 2006. In 2023, he transitioned to the Cartersville Fire Department, continuing his passion in service training and mentorship. Throughout this career, Jared has trained and instructed firefighters across the country in various disciplines. He is the owner and lead instructor for Elite Fire. Jared, my man, thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem, man.
So, Jared, tell us about Elite Fire Training. What are they? What do you do?
We're kind of a different kind of breed of training, if you will. We do a lot of hands-on, try to keep it mostly realistic as we can. And we kind of, one of the classes, we throw in some medical stuff. I know most people aren't big on medical, but it's a search class. Once you find the victim, you pull them out, and then you do complete patient care right there on scene. So that's one of them. Our other class that we just started was search and rescue, worst case scenarios. You'll have a morbidly obese patient, do a window to door conversion, hoarder house conditions, a multifamily house, and then a pretty gnarly RIT scenario. I kind of been calling it the J. Michael one. So I'm honor my brother, man, trying to learn from it and, move on.
Yeah.
Get things going good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you go pretty much wherever anybody wants you, right?
Yeah.
Now, actually, you kind of just mentioned honoring your brother. There's I guess you'd be a cool person to talk to about it. I just saw there was a NIOSH report released.
Yeah, dude. That was pretty hard to read, but
yeah,
a
lot of good information.
A lot of good information.
Yeah. What were your takeaways from that?
I mean, one of the biggest ones always is communication, I don't want to Monday, not quarterback it too much, but I wasn't there. I'm sure it was a hectic scene. It sounded pretty chaotic. So, I don't want to tread too lightly on some of that stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, or I'm not trying to cast shadow on any department or anyone, but, the report is out. And it released some really good, valuable information about, like you said, communication, what the structure can hold for water load, a whole lot of stuff going on. So I was just curious if you really dived deep into the report and if you had any valuable takeaways regarding that and what, could be done in the future to be better.
Always be mindful of your surroundings. Listen to your crews. If you're, if somebody says the floor's sagging, get more specific details on it. Make sure it relays. Of course, everybody knows the whole master stream while people are inside is a big no-no. But
yeah,
in my personal opinion, once the victims were saved, at that point it's just a building. What are we saving after that? So just be kind of clear of what you're doing in there and why you're in there. But it did end tragically, unfortunately. But just, be mindful of what's going on. Be with your brothers and your sisters and be cognitive of what happens.
like you said, training grounds or not training grounds, fire grounds, they always get really chaotic, especially on those big kind of events, especially when you have victims trapped and you're trying to get the fire and the hazards mitigated, but also
Right.
pulling people out and making sure they're out of harm's way. Things get missed, things get overlooked, radio transmissions get overlooked.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a lot like this is what happened is the transmissions weren't heard on the radio.
Right.
The weight of the floor was starting to sag due to the deck guns going in there. And like you said, once people are out, what are we trying to save now at this point? And if the whole building is compromised, what are we really doing to this? And it's valuable lessons learned. It's just it's unfortunate we still have that going on in the 21st century. And again, I'm not like the same way. I'm not quarterbacking. I'm not casting shadow. There's valuable lessons to be learned. Nobody is perfect in this world and in this industry. We're all learning. That's why we're always taking classes, right? That's why we're always doing this, because I want to be better. There's things I don't know, so I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And these NIOSH reports, they're doing just that. They're telling us that story. They're doing the work on it. Honestly, I think it's frustrating when you have people that that demand answers from or casting questions or investigating other departments. Like if I go into that department and say I want to know why you did this way or why did you do it that way and you didn't do this right. I'm in no position. I am a master of nothing, and I am no position to question another department of why they did something. But those NIOSH reports, that's what's giving me those answers, right? Those are great. They're going in there unbiased. They're going in there with a scientific mind and trying to find out what happened. And with a fine tooth comb, that's why they do it. And it's really valuable to see that and to read it and absorb it. And it's stuff we should be talking around the table with. It's not for the people who don't know what we do in our industry. It's not morbid. It's lessons learned and lessons gained, and we have to sit around the table. And as much as it hurts, it's someone that's close to you. The lives lost is our lessons to be achieved, and we're learning a lot from that. And it's unfortunate it still continues to happen with some of those key elements. I'm sure if you look up NIOSH reports, it's usually the same thing that keeps happening. Again, missed radio transmissions, communication, improper ventilations, weight load on the buildings, not reading your structure correctly. So, so I was just looking to see what your outtakes on that. Just the report, again, not trying to quarterback, what the departments did, but your big takeaways of that report.
Well, anytime you get, multiple agencies working on the same incident, it's always haywire. I mean, we run automatic aid with the department, and then we have another department we run mutually with every once in a while, and it gets hectic,
Yeah, absolutely. It totally does, especially interagencies, like you said. Like, man, you plus sometimes you even get different terminologies on the radio, different fire frequencies. Who's on like for us up north, we have our V channels, our V tactical channels.
Yeah.
And we try to assign them, and hopefully people are listening to what channels they need to be on, but sometimes it can be missed. So that's when bad things start to happen. Like you said, comms get missed and walked over. So, so it's really important that we read these reports and learn from them and make sure they don't happen again. So with your training, with Elite Fire Training, do you take some of these understandings of these reports and do you apply them to your training and the skills you're trying to get people to understand and hopefully acquire?
I do. I like Firefighter Rescue Survey. I follow a lot of their stuff and use a lot of their statistics and stuff in my class, along with the new Mayday one that's coming out that Basil did.
He's doing a great job with that.
Yeah, he is. So I'm going to incorporate that in my new class, and I've been incorporating the Firefighter Rescue Survey in my other ones about, dirty drags is where it's at. That's what works. And anytime I place the victims, I place them in the statistically found places. I'm not hiding them in the dryer and kind of crap like that. Yeah. And then the Mayday one, this one we're really hitting home on because statistically it said, typically the crew that you're with is the one who saves you if it's not yourself. I think self was 28%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's gone way up, which is awesome. So we're training on different things like that and trying to throw the aspects of statistics in there too.
That's awesome. Because I really
Yeah,
love the new ideas of doing this. The non-traditional methods that we teach now, and they're not textbook book. They're not curriculum
yeah,
based. These are things that, man, opening my eyes and my mind was when I went to Dagum. That, and again, I've said on multiple shows, like I praised the hell out of them because that was a great training, man. And Rob Ramirez hit it, and Basil hit it, and the Cano brothers, and Hollick and Sturm, and all these guys. They had this great out of the box thinking of how to get guys and girls out of the building,
yeah,
and the taking off the helmet, and the pick off straps, and um some other key things of those, like Rob hits on a lot of, like, hey, just so you know, when we're doing this wire prop, we're not training you to go into a wire,
yes,
but
exactly, yes,
we teach it at the academy, and that really hit home to me because I always blindly would do it when I was going through my training. I would blindly go through the wire maze, and I had that in the back of my mind of thinking, why would I ever crawl into a hazard?
yes,
And then, we never really described or said, this is why we're doing it. We just said, hey, crawl through this and figure out how to
right,
get on the other end, and um, I love like same thing with Bears of the Oath. I love the training that we did. We did a lot on dirty drags, and we talked about the pickoff straps, and
yep,
and again, proper removal, but being efficient and getting out of the old school ways of using your pack as a harness. It's not a bad thing if people still do it, but I love that we're teaching new ways and non-traditional methods to get the job done.
yep, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always evolving. That's like you said earlier. That's why we still attend classes, you go all over the place and learn new things. Because if you're only training at your department, majority of the time, that's you're only getting you know kind of the bare minimum. Not always, because some places got wonderful people, but it's always good to get outside and learn new things and new tactics and bring them
Mm-hmm.
back and see what works for you. Like,
Yeah, I love it, dude. And you hit it on the nail too. Like I came back, I couldn't wait to show
yeah,
everybody that I
exactly,
learned,
yeah,
that what I learned, and I want to teach it to them. But I had to go slow. Not that my department didn't want to see it, but I can't go and go, we need to do this, and we have to do this, and look at all
exactly,
these
yeah,
cool things. Like
yeah,
Jared showed me this and Jared showed me that. And I want to, you want to implement it right then and there. But one, people are slow to change because, there's a way we've always done it. But just because I learned it doesn't mean it's always right.
exactly,
Like
yeah,
there's new ways. And I realized that after doing a few trainings outside my state, is like, this is a cool way, but it still has to be tried and true. It still has to be slowly implemented in. You got to weigh out the pros and the cons. And I love everyone's advice that they give me when I come back with new ideas, new ways to do things. And
yeah,
like taking your class at Bears for when you guys did the can ops, um, it was short and sweet, but to the point, and still got something out of it. And I'd still take that back and go, I take the pictures, the videos, and I show everyone in my department, this is what Jared Robinson and his crew told me or showed me at Bears of the Oath. And maybe we could do some training on that and try to look at how this works or how this doesn't work for our department.
yeah, exactly. And that's what I always say when I teach. I'm like, this is not the way; it's a way.
Way, yeah.
And then I also, I open the floor usually in my training if we have time. I'm like, hey, does anybody else know of a way? How do y'all do it? Show me what you got.
Yeah.
Because I'm still learning. We're always learning. So I always try to keep open mind on everything. So
Do you ever get kickback on like showing some different ways? Like we'll do dirty drags. Does anybody ever give
oh
you
yeah,
crap for like,
yeah,
why would I do it this way? I'm gonna, whatever reasons they got. Do they give you some pushback on
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Uh, Not always, but yeah, it's pretty frequent. Somebody will be like, "Well, we don't do it that way," or "I'm not going to do that," and I'm like, "That's cool, man. That's whatever. You're not going to
Yeah.
hurt my feelings." Like
Yeah.
so.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely run into some stuff like that, and then occasionally
Yeah.
you get in an awkward position. If they're like, we do it like this, and I'm like, my here's why I might not consider that the best way, but majority of the time it's solid stuff. I normally pick up one or two things every class I teach
Yeah.
from other students coming. So
That's great. Like, I got to use some of the skills that I've been teaching and that I learned from as well. Like, I've been teaching the using your waist strap on your SCBA for a while to move people upstairs.
Yeah.
And I love that method. I've also heard blowback from other people and some people I respect and I value their opinion, that they don't really like that. You're attached to them. If the floor gives way or something else, if they fall, you're going with them. A whole, and I definitely appreciate it. I still like that method. It works for me. I never got to do it under stressful conditions. I never got to do it in live smoke and live fire. And we actually did it at FDIC. Basil, we took Basil's hands-on class. My coworker Will Tallheimer and we took that class, and I knew that's what I wanted to do in case it happens. And it happened. Like, we didn't know it was going to happen, right? Like, like he became incapacitated, and he wasn't unconscious, but he started to fight us and making it difficult. And as they're packaging and ready to go, I'm like, it was like within seconds, I know what I need to do. And I got my waistband ready to go. One of the kids we were with said, "Hey, you gonna do that thing with your waist strap?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm already set. Let's go. Let's set him up." Set it up, got him cinched up, hauled his ass up the stairs, dragged him out on the landing. It was beautiful. I never got to do that before. It was something I teach, but I never actually got to put it to work on live conditions like that. And I found it so valuable. And because some people said, well, it won't work. It won't work in high stress conditions. You're not going to be able to see it. If you do it the right way, if you train on it, it becomes that muscle memory. And I've always trained on it, and it became that muscle memory. It was so smooth. I was so happy how that turned out. And then we were getting the breakdown from Basil, and he comes up, he goes, did you haul me up those stairs with your arms? I was like, no, man, I used my waist strap. He's like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep, exactly.
I was like, I said, that's what I wanted to do. He's like, yes, that's up. Like, I shouldn't have to tell you how to do these things. This is beautiful. So it was a beautiful moment, like putting my skills to the test and listening to people, how they say, like, it won't work because it's too dark or it's going to be too stressful and you can't get the stress. And you know what? And I tried it anyways, and it worked beautifully.
Yeah, it's a smooth operation when you train on it. I mean, like everything. I mean,
like everything.
Reps.
So now you just actually talking about some training and put things to work. You're obviously a physically fit guy. You do a lot of workouts. You train constantly. You just finished up some kind of competition.
Yes. So we did a team competition relay for the Firefighter Combat Challenge at Warner Robins. Yeah. So my group, one of our guys, he had a hiccup on the stairs, which, I mean, it sucks. Stuff happens.
Yeah.
But our other team, they had the best time of the day, but they placed the sledge on the Kaiser sled the wrong place, so they deducted or added 3 points, 3 seconds. So they ended up getting second place overall, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's still great.
And then about 5 of us had the bright idea to do it individually too towards the end of the day. So, and then one of our guys got third place overall. So,
dude, that's good. How many people?
Oh shoot, there was a bunch.
Yeah,
a lot. I mean, I don't even remember how many, but there was a lot.
And where was that competition?
Warner Robins Air Force Base.
Okay.
Yeah. So way down middle Georgia.
Have you ever taken that before?
No, that was the first time, dude. That was fun though.
This sounds like, I was looking at the pictures. That looked like a blast. Are you going to do it again?
Yeah. And we're coming for first place this time.
Yeah, there you go. And now, what's the grand prize if you win first place?
Like a plaque or something. Fun.
That's cool, dude. I love that. So that competition, what did you do in that competition?
So first, it's the hose bundle over your shoulder. You got to run up, I think, 4 stories. Then you hoist a hose up and over the rail, run back down, hit the Kaiser sled, slalom through little cones, grab a charged hose line, advance it through the door, knock a cone over, and then a dummy drag.
And how much time?
As fast as you can go.
Okay.
If you want to be competitive, I'd say anything under 3 minutes is good.
All right. What was your time?
Like 2:44.
All right, bro. Okay. All right.
Which I'm gonna admit it. I sandbagged the stairs.
Did you fall? Did you trip? Or
Nah, man. I go up them slow because I don't want to gas out.
I got you.
I'm old, man. I gotta pace myself a little.
Now, how old are you?
41, so not
Oh, you
too
see,
old, but
you're not too old. I'm 46, so
yeah,
um, I look old when I'm going up and downstairs in a hurry.
yeah. That's exactly. That's gotta take those kind of easy, and then blistered the rest of it. So I have to
Gotcha.
make up some time.
And it got so it wasn't too hot though, was it?
Yes, it was
It
extremely
was
hot.
hot. Yeah, okay, I was
Yeah,
trying to be nice. All right, so
no,
that's
it
the thing.
sucked.
Yeah, full gear on air.
No air there. Uh, I think some of the Scott Challenge ones stuff you're on air, but that one you're not.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
And how
the
many people on
next
your team?
five,
All
so
right.
one at each station, and then if you do it individual, you do all of it, which we did. I think the winning time was like 2:09 or something like that.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, I could have sped up some, but
I feel you. Okay.
I knew I wasn't getting 2:09. So
Now, so you're currently on the job in Georgia, and how many stations is your department?
we have 5 stations.
5 stations,
Yeah,
and you guys are pretty busy.
not really. I mean,
No.
not. Well, I don't consider it busy. We run around 5,000, 6,000 calls a year. Um,
Okay.
coming from where I was at, that's a lot less. So,
And you just started that new department not that long ago, correct?
2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago. So you kind of did the same thing I did. You transitioned out from one department to another at an older age.
Yeah,
And how was that process for you?
scary. Took a lot of praying. Um, I kind of just turned it over to the big man and I said, hey, if this is where you want me, because I had this pull in my heart, just kept tugging me. And I said, if this is what you want, and this is where you want me, then let's make it happen. And everything just kind of fell in place. Once I got to the department, I had, probably 5 or 6 people I already knew that worked there. And the rest of the department was very welcoming. I was a little surprised, to be honest. I kind of figured I'd get some kickback, and you know, especially when I guess you would say a seasoned guy comes in, everybody
Sure.
kind of, I don't know, points fingers and wants to see, make me prove myself, if you will.
Yeah.
Which a few did, but not a big deal. They were all cool with me though, so it was a nice transition though.
That's pretty cool when you actually get buy-in from your department.
Yeah,
When they do recognize that you have some time in and knowledge. And I felt the same way with when I went to my new department. It was I was the same way. I was scared. I was anxious. I was nervous. I knew it was for the better. I knew I had to leave. I was having personal problems in my old department, and it was like, again, it was just the powers that be said, hey, this is your time. Even if you don't do it, you're going to lose out. Like, I always consider ourselves athletes. We are athletes, but
oh
when you get up into a certain age, you're not becoming
yeah,
as marketable
yeah,
as
yeah,
that athlete. So I knew I was over 40, and I was like, how marketable am I going to be for the next round if I don't take it? And they welcomed me in with open arms. I love the fact that I came in like a probie. I knew what
yep,
I needed to do because it was my second round being a probie, right? Like, mouth open,
yep,
ears and eyes open, mouth closed, ears and eyes open, and
yeah,
just gain all that knowledge, and come in like you know it all.
yeah,
And man, they were so receptive, and just watching them all work, watching them take me in, and reputation does speak a lot for yourself, right? Like, Georgia, New Hampshire, like, we all know each other in the fire service, and word gets around. And if you're an asshole, people will be like, yeah, that guy
people know it.
isn't, people know it. And they'll be like, oh, here we go. We got this know-it-all asshole in our department. And give him 1 week, he's going to tell you how he knows how to do everything. So reputation helps a lot when you're going to a new department, especially in smaller states. And
Yeah, and then, like you said, stay humble.
yeah,
That's what I did. I went in. Of course, I like to think I'm a humble guy anyway, but
you certainly
I'm
are.
I'm I'm definitely not the best. There's guys way better than me, and I'm always trying to strive to be better.
Oh my goodness.
But
You got a tornado
yeah,
coming in?
I don't know. It's my wife's phone.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Don't worry.
So, I came in and there was guys I was on the truck with initially that were, a couple years in, and they were like, well, you know more than I do. And I said, no, dude. I said, I need to know how we do it here. This is a new
Hmm.
department to me. Show me how y'all do it. I said, treat me just like the other probies. I said, I'm no different. I'm a probie here. I said, I got to learn, and I took the toilet cleaning. I did the garbage. I did all that stuff. Like, I know how it works, like
Yeah.
you do your time. Doesn't matter if you've been in the service for 20 years. You're a probie at that department and
Yes,
you
sir.
earn the respect just like everyone else. And that's
Absolutely.
what I did,
100%.
you know?
I love it. Yeah. It's actually, I found it kind of cool to do it a second time because I knew like the expectations were there. I mean, I know it's a different department, different expectations, but the expectation of be a good dude, be a good
Yeah,
probie, again,
exactly.
clean the toilet without complaining. That's universal. You
Yeah,
don't need one particular department to tell you how to do that. Like that's lessons learned from doing it before and coming in and being humble and
yeah,
having that humility to go, yeah, I'm gonna get on my hands and knees and scrub a toilet or or shower or what, and I'm gonna do it whistling and humming and enjoying my life because
yeah.
this is what the job is.
I'll be
And
there and boy, whatever.
yeah, man, yeah. And people used to ask me when I first started, why do you always smile? I'm like, because I'm happy. I'm,
Yeah,
I'm in a
because I'm
good
having fun,
place.
man.
I'm having fun and taking it all in, and it's a cool lesson. And starting older in life is pretty cool too. You get that slow down effect, where
Yeah,
now it's not everything's coming at you lightning fast. It's coming in slower now, and you can see the ball coming at you at
yeah,
like 10 miles an hour as opposed to 50 miles an hour, right? And
yeah,
it's actually pretty cool to see that as we get older and we get that knowledge and that experience, and then coming into a new department and you kind of already know the answer before they even ask it, or you can read their mind because you've done that stuff, and they really do appreciate that. And I like one of my first experiences is sitting down with, or we're doing training, and I'm watching everybody work, and I've already did my rep, and I'm watching them go next, and my battalion chief, like, he turned to me and he said, Mike, you can step in and help teach this. I know you know this. I was like, no, I'm just here. I'm learning. I'm just with you guys. I'm a probie. He's like, no, you can. I
yeah,
know you know how to do this. Come
yeah.
on, like, show us some stuff. I'm like, all right. But it was that moment where that was that pinnacle moment for me, where it's like they trusted my value and what I had, my
Yeah,
input, and I didn't have to open my mouth and say I know it all. Like they already
exactly.
saw my work, and that means a lot.
It does, and I was very receptive like that also. And yeah, it's an awesome feeling, to be, I guess, cherished and wanted. I know that sounds kind of, you
No,
know,
no, it's
but
dude, you're absolutely right. Like that's not a bad thing to be cherished, to want to be wanted, to want to be accepted. Like it's a
yeah,
brotherhood, it's a sisterhood. Like my background, like I came from a broken home. I life sucked growing up,
yeah,
and I think that's why a lot of people, and honestly, in the fire service, also join the fire service, is because they want that family atmosphere. They want to feel
yeah,
loved. They want that connection that they have with people, and that's what was the same thing for me, is why I wanted to join something so special. Like you and I talked before, I was in a motorcycle club. I think at one point you talked
yeah,
about it as well, right? And
yep.
because I wanted a sense of belonging, I thought it was that brotherhood, and that wasn't so well, I guess part of it was to look badass, but like
Right.
having the patch on my back, I can't complain about that. But it was brotherhood. I wanted people to hang out with. And it's the same thing in the
Yeah,
fire service. I wanted people to hang out with. I wanted to do some cool ass shit with some cool ass dudes and have great stories to talk about.
yep.
And we get to do that. And that's what we want, that to be accepted and to have that love from our peers.
Well, as men, that's we earn and yearn for a tribe.
Mm.
I like to read, so I read a lot of the books, like Way of Men and all that kind of stuff. It's got good stuff in it. And yeah, the brotherhood is alive and well. I wish even more people would keep buying into it. But it's up to us, to mold the younger generation and mentor them and get them into it.
100%.
I tell mine all the time, seek outside training, go to these conferences, go to these. I said, y'all have it made, dude. Like when I came in the fire service, we had nothing for a while. Like it was,
Yeah.
if you were good enough that one of the dudes at your station took a liking to you and took you under your wing, awesome. If he didn't, then you're screwed and you had to learn everything on your own. And then, later in the years when YouTube came out, and then we had Trey Nelms, like
Yep.
it was the training master for a long time because we didn't have anything, that's all we had.
You guys got made too. And like down where you guys are, you guys have a lot of good trainings. You guys do a lot. Like you just said, like you got MAPC coming up tomorrow, right?
Yes. Yep.
And Bears of the Oath, and boy, I mean, there's a lot. We don't have that up here.
Going on all the time.
There's something always going on down there, and I'm so jealous because if I had, if I won the lottery, I'd be probably down there all the time, coming to doing trainings all the time. But it's not possible. But you guys have it going on down there, and it's like you said, you have it made. You've got the benefits of having all these great training areas and conferences that you guys can get into all that good knowledge, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm with the 575 Fools too, our local chapter, and we are doing some kind of training session every month this year, and it's awesome. I'm like,
wow,
where do you get that? Like,
yeah,
that
that's
was not
impressive.
around 20 years ago. There was
No.
FDIC and Trey Nelms on YouTube. That was about it.
And your Fools chapter is pretty good, man. You guys are pretty strong. I see you guys do a lot of stuff. You're very, very active, like you said. You guys got a lot of training. Got to meet you guys at Bears of the Oath, doing the C.A.N ops, and you solid bunch of dudes. Just love to get into it and love to train, and you guys are just in it to win it.
Yeah, man, just spreading the good word.
Yeah. Now, tell me a bit about MAPC.
So the Metro Atlanta Firefighter Conference, hosted typically out of Cobb County area, but we're creeping. I'm teaching my class in Calhoun now, which is North Georgia, so we're spreading north. Then it's all around the metro area throughout, just different training groups, different people teaching classes. My brothers with the Fools, they're the Georgia Fools. They're hosting a 2-day class. Kind of sad I'm not with them because I'm teaching this other thing, but and just tons of dudes coming from all over the place. Fluger and all them are coming in for their class, so it's good stuff, man.
I really wanted to go.
I know.
I'm that fear of missing out, right? The FOMO, the fear of missing out, and I'm missing out, and I'm I wish I could be there. It's just so much stuff going on, and it's unfortunate. But what are you teaching for this weekend?
So Friday, tomorrow, teaching the search and rescue worst case scenarios. And then Saturday, I'm teaching make the grab, now what? So,
can you tell me a little bit about those classes?
Yeah. So the first one is totally hands-on. We're gonna have some teaching stations, kind of go over window to door conversion, forcible entry, search and packaging, and kind of make sure everybody's on the same page on everything. And then we're gonna go into scenarios. So they're gonna have a morbidly obese patient that they'll have to call for a window to door conversion. We have a prop cut out and made in the burn building, so they'll actually physically do it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we have another patient that's in there. That's a hoarder house condition. I tried to make it pretty good. So
Evil laugh
people,
there.
Yeah, the people will probably have a good little find when they get in there.
Oh, nice.
On Division 2, we're gonna have a multifamily just living. There's gonna be a lot of victims on the Division 2. Which we run in, all these things I've picked up from calls that we've run or, have potential to run. How many times do we go in hoarder houses? One of my brothers, Whitfield County, he ran one, pulled a guy out, said it was awful. I mean, just, it's one of those calls you don't want to get. He walked into it and was like, oh crap, it's a hoarder house. Luckily they found him and got him out. But how many times do we go on these morbidly obese, patients for medical calls, and then you think, dude, if this person goes down or this house is catch on fire,
Dude, morbidly obese people in hoarder houses. I mean, how many times? That's
yes,
usually the case, right?
and
And
exactly, yeah,
and it's not even crapping on people. It's just that's the world we live in. We live in an area where people are just drowning in their own items
hmm
that they purchased in their own house. The house is killing them,
yep,
and they live in it, and they become unable to move. They're morbidly obese, and like usually the majority that I see when those houses are filled with crap, it's somebody who is 300 to 400 pounds. And
yep,
that's immediately my mind thought is, oh my God, how am I going to move this person if
exactly,
there's a serious event inside this structure? How am I? And it's mountains. You're having to climb over mountains. Again, anybody who's never done it and anybody who's not in the fire service, this is a serious thing we think about all the time. Not just building construction, but we always think about the worst case scenarios. And that
exactly,
is one of those worst case. In my town, when I was still on the department I used to be on, we had that situation. Unfortunately, it was a fatal, and it was a mobile home.
oh yeah,
Just mountains and mountains of clothes, and he was right by his bedroom window. There was no way we're going to get him over the
yeah,
mountains of clothes and over
can't get
anything
him,
else. So we to get him out for the ME, we had to do the window door conversion. It was the only way it was going to happen. So it was
yeah,
either that or get a lift because it wasn't
yeah.
going to happen.
So yeah, that'll actually be a live victim. I've got a friend he's a big boy, and then we're gonna add some weight vests to him.
That's
Uh,
mighty nice of them.
yeah, so but I want that realism, for that.
Yeah, I
So,
got you.
and I do
And
use a
how do you
lot of
say that
live
to your friend
victims.
though? How do you say that to your friend? Like, hey man, you're you're big boned. Can we use
Yeah.
you for our morbidly obese training, please?
Well, in his defense, he's actually not that overweight. He's like 6'6", like he's just a
Okay,
big dude.
just a big dude.
And then I'm gonna add weight vests to him and other goodies to try to make him
Gotcha.
350 to 400 is the goal.
And is this under live fire conditions or
No, not on that one,
will you
unfortunately.
lube him up?
I want to.
Mm,
I don't know if he'll go for it, but I want him to.
yeah,
Paddy wagons and lube,
he could use a good rub down.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds
For
really
life,
interesting.
man.
It is. It absolutely is, and that's the things like I love to talk about when I'm teaching, victim rescue and survival is use the conditions around you. Skin is going to be sloughing off. The skin's going to be oily and wet. You're not going to get a good grip. So think about window dressings. Think about blankets and sheets and rugs.
Yeah.
Like those are the things we're going to need to use to try to drag them somewhere.
Yep. And for the smaller victims, I teach a lot of leg locks, wrist locks, all that good stuff.
Now, did
Um,
you have you ever taken jujitsu? I thought you did.
I did a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
The
you use some
the
of the
one I learned,
mechanics?
well, the one Todd Chipper showed me. I use that Kimura arm bar.
Yep.
I like to show that. Todd's way better at me than jujitsu, so so I took that from him. And watching him and Sean Duffy, and all them,
Mhm.
Dustin Martinez, and I just picked up little things from everybody and then kind of put it all together.
I like that.
And yeah, and then I got a few little tricks of my own that I show, but it's good stuff, man. I love it's fun teaching. I love instructing, and I
What
love
really got you into the search, survival, and RIT part of it? Because I mean, everybody's got their little areas that they really like, to teach. And
yeah,
like I love hoses and nozzles, and I love firefighter survival and RIT. I don't know what it is. It's just I used to hate hose, used to hate
yeah,
nozzles. And one day I just kind of opened my eyes. Honestly, when I left my previous departments, when I started to love it because I
yeah.
got to learn a different way. But RIT always hit home for me. I loved it. So what got you into the firefighter survival part of it, the victim survival? Like there's a lot into that. And some people don't
Yeah.
like it because it's really physical,
hmm
and whether teaching it or doing it, that's really hardcore physical
Yeah.
training. So what got you into that?
I guess the main thing that really hit home with me is that's our whole existence. That's why we're here, is to
Mm.
save lives. So why not be, the best you can be at the one thing you're really meant for, right? So I guess that's where my passion came from. And then like you said, it's hard, dirty work, and I like hard, dirty work.
Yeah.
Yeah, support blue collar, man. That's our job right there.
Yeah. Do you firmly believe that, right? Like I'm a big believer of that, is the fire service is blue collar work.
Yes,
Do you feel that's
100%.
drifting away, or do you still think we have that blue collar mindset?
It depends on where you're at and who you're with.
Mhm.
I feel like some departments are trying to shy away from that and get more, how neat does my uniform look versus how good am I at my job. That's always been a priority of mine. I've got in trouble with that. They like to call it initiative, because my priority is training, fitness, and then everyday mundane crap.
Mhm.
That's how I've always operated. Um, I don't like going in and, cleaning and doing mindless stuff before I get my good training in and a good workout.
Yeah.
That's my prerogative. I mean, I don't, if your uniform looks like crap, that's an issue. But you can still look presentable and not look like you just walked out of a press iron, and starch. And I want to look like I'm good at my job, and I want people to see it when I work. You know, that's my main goal,
Yeah.
and that's how I want my crew and my department is. I want us to be good at our jobs, and if you're wearing a t-shirt, you're wearing a t-shirt. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not the boss, but
Did you ever get any pushback or any kind of issues with your tattoos?
yes. My first department, well, to be honest, I feel like that really hindered me on getting hired.
Mm.
I didn't have my throat, but I did have a full sleeve and half sleeve on my other arm when I was trying to get hired, which I was, 19 or 19 to 21, really, is when I was actively trying to get on a department. I was volunteering, but back then, it was still kind of not socially accepted, I guess, as much.
Yeah.
Especially where I'm at. I'm in North Georgia, so I'm, where all the country boys are. So, uh, and I wasn't originally from this area. I was from Atlanta area originally. So, my brother and my uncle weren't best friends with anybody up here. So,
Gotcha.
there was a lot of good old boy system back then. And so I was kind of the metalhead little tattooed guy. So,
Little?
so
You were the little guy?
I was actually pretty small back then. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, I was still fit and strong, but I wasn't nearly as big and muscular.
Yeah.
My metabolism started slowing down around 30 and I started packing on some weight.
Gotcha.
Uh, but yes, I think it did hinder me for a long time. I guess I don't know why, because we didn't have a policy, but I got hired eventually. And my chief asked me, he said, "Hey, I would, I'd appreciate it if you kind of would cover those up as much as you can." And so, I rocked it for a year. I wore those little sleeves and stuff. And I was like, I'll be respectful,
Yep.
earn my place, let them see what I'm about. After that, went off the haywire and, I got fully tattooed, got my neck.
The job killers. We call these job killers.
Yeah, man. And my chief was like, "I'd really appreciate if you wouldn't get any more."
When I started, I really, I was getting really into getting tattooed. And I remember I wanted my hands done. And my tattoo artist at the time, he was actually pretty cool about it. He's like, let's hold off. He's like, let's finish your sleeves. Let's go with that. Like, I love you as a customer. So if I get you these job killers, and that's why I call them job killers, is like, because I need you to come back and spend money. And if you get fired from your job because you've got hand tattoos, then you can't come back and give me money. And he made a good point. So we held off for a while, but I couldn't wait anymore. Like I think it was like maybe a year later. I was like, I want these done. And I was always pretty fortunate, pretty blessed that I never got any bad music from anybody reference to my tattoos. I mean, there's nothing very, vulgar on them. There's no bad imagery. And like we talked about earlier is your reputation, your reputation and how you conduct yourself, and the tattoos don't make the person. And,
Right. Yeah.
if you're a stand-up person and you do good work and you're respectful and you go out to be the best person you can be, I don't think people notice the tattoos.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's really what it's an old school mindset that, you know, we're scumbags if we have neck tattoos or hand tattoos. And like I had I did a podcast with Paul Conway. We got in that discussion.
Yeah.
And I really feel that it makes us better at our jobs with the public, to be honest with you, because when we're dealing with some people that are having a tough life, and you know the people that we're talking about, you know, and they look at you and me and they go, that dude gets it. He's been around the block. He understands where I'm coming from. I'm going to talk to him. And I watched people completely calm down when I'm talking. Usually they're irate with more of the stuffed shirts, you know, and they're not really talking, especially police. They're not going to want to talk to the police.
Oh, no.
Right. Yeah. And they always confuse us with police as well, because a lot of times they look the same. But as soon as I sit down and I talk to them and they look at me, they look me up and down, they go, they could see it in their eyes, immediately stop, and they go, all right, I can trust this guy, and I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to let him do what he needs to do.
Yeah, I've ran across that too. Yeah, like you said, that I don't know what the correlation is with that, but yeah, I guess they can see that we've, for some reason, either been in some difficult times in our life, or you know, had trials and stuff like that. But
yeah, we're wearing our story on our skin, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how I look at it. That's why I got into wanting tattoos, because I had a story to tell, and I loved expressing myself, and that was the best way to do it. And it's a story. So when they're in, you know, I'm in the back of the ambulance, and whether it's a kid or a grown adult, and they want to talk about a story, they'll ask me about my tattoos, and I can tell them whatever they want to hear. You know, if they want to hear, you know, like a kid wants to hear a story, I can tell them a story about one of my tattoos. Like I got Mighty Mouse on there, you know, so like it's fun for all. But it really, I think, helps a lot. And I think it gets us more down to earth, because like you said, like your hat, right? We're blue collar folk, and we're not going to be super clean. Our hands are going to be dirty. Our nails are going to be dirty. At the end of the day, when we come home from work, we're going to hopefully have dirt and grease and grime under our nails, because that's what we do. We're doing things that nobody else wants to do. We're doing the dirty work.
And if you're not, you should be.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So you've also you expressed it before, and the Bears of the Oath again was a big, huge awakening for me. As a lot of people know, I'm not a super religious guy, but I do believe in God, and I do believe He has a purpose. It was much awakening for me meeting all of you in Georgia and seeing how in touch with God and Jesus. And again, New Hampshire, we don't have that big of a following for that. We have religious groups, and we're very in tune with religion, but what you guys were presenting there was something amazing. And I was really just taken by it, and listening to you open up and in front of a group of strangers that then became family. So you came up and you talked about your story. What was your story?
Mine was more so about mentorship in the fire service. You know, not only mentoring them skill wise and how to be a good firefighter, but how to be a good person and a good, you know, I'm a man, so a good man, a good husband, a good father, a good Christian. And that was all the big man upstairs, man. Like that was all his work. Shane asked me if I was interested, and I was like, I don't know, man. I said, I'm not a lecture dude. I'm a hot class guy. And he said, well, think about it. And I said, I'll think about it. So I prayed, and he kept feeding me answers, and it all fell into place. And I can't take credit for it because most days I feel like I suck as a Christian. You know, like I'm a perfectionist, and when I fall short, which everybody's going to, I feel like I'm not good enough. And then I have to remind myself, well, that's the whole reason I turned to Him, is because we're not good enough. So it's a daily struggle for me. So I don't want anybody to ever think I'm high and mighty. I'm a sinner just like everyone else. God just happens to use me from time to time.
Now, why did you obviously have a past, right?
Yes.
You've learned some things the hard way. So what made you, what was going on that led you down that path?
Towards the light or towards the dark?
Either one, man. Yeah, whatever. Like, what lifted you up? What was that shining moment that you said, you know, I'm tired of this dark life? Because there's some things that definitely lead us, and some people don't feel comfortable talking about it, right? And I like to be pretty open and transparent of my background, but there's a lot of people who still don't feel comfortable about it. So I'm not going to put you on the spot. But what led you to finding Jesus, finding that light where you're just like, you know what, I'm sick of being the person I don't want to be anymore?
I would say really my wife and kids.
Hmm.
My wife never pushed me to change. She accepted me who I was, you know. Like we talked about earlier, I was in a motorcycle club, you know, partied all the time, drank pretty heavily here and there. I was not an alcoholic by no means. I know that's a lot of people's troubles.
Hmm.
But when I did drink, I did drink typically, and I made stupid decisions when I drank and acted a fool and be childish and dumb. And you know, I never got drunk around my kids or anything like that. This would be at, you know, biker parties or whatever. You know, it's really a miracle I was still alive from all the dumb drinking and driving and etc. But
Yeah.
um, one day it just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, man. I was just like, I'm pretty sure I was hungover the next day, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, you know, I'm like mid late 30s, and I'm like, I'm still out here partying like I'm 20. You know, even though I wasn't showing my kids that, which I don't know if that made it worse or better, you know, that I was kind of hiding it. But that was kind of the turning point. You know, I made some stupid decisions before. I made a lot of stupid decisions before, but that was kind of the turning point. Was just like, what kind of person am I? What kind of role model am I? If I'm telling my kids, hey, don't drink, don't do drugs, but here I am going partying with my friends.
Yeah.
Um, that was kind of the main turning point was, you know, my wife, she doesn't drink. She did when she was 20, you know, whatever, but she hasn't in years. And like I said, she never once ever tried to stop me or, you know, be like, hey, you need to change, you need to quit, you know. And I respect her for that because it happened naturally, you know, with me and God. And I was just like, you know, I want to better myself. I want to be a better example. I want to be a better human.
Yeah.
And one thing I talked about in my lecture, you know, was the challenge, and that's the challenge I give to myself and every other firefighter is, you know, I challenge you not to be only a good firefighter, but a good person. I've met people that are on both ends of the spectrum. You know, they're awesome firefighters, but they were crappy human beings. And then I've met really good human beings who were not really good firefighters.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's the goal for me is to be both. And I want everybody else to be both. That's what I tell my kids, and I tell my recruits, my probies. I said, you know, my goal is to make you better than me. Now I'm going to keep striving to try to be better, but that's the ultimate goal. And I hope I'm living a good example for them now. I always could be better. You know that I never feel adequate on my Christian side or my fire side, but
Hmm.
I do try. And my pastor always tells me, "Well, that's good, man. You're convicted. That means he's still working in you." And I'm like, "Well, good, okay." So, you know, and I've tried to be a good influence, and that was probably really the biggest turning point for me. My previous marriage, you know, I did some bad things. I cheated on my first wife. That came to a head, and then later on, it eventually led to our divorce. Uh, and my father died. You know, that was a big struggle for me.
Hmm.
He died when I was 30.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and you know, nothing hits home as if you have a good relationship with your father. Nothing makes you feel like a little boy than losing your dad. And that was a real tough time for me. And then I got divorced the next year, so I was in pretty bad spot
Yeah,
there.
man. That's some dark times.
Uh, yeah, you know, and I was drinking heavily at that point. You know, contemplating suicide off and on. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm a big supporter of, you know, Next Rung and the Skulls for Hope and all them. You know,
Yeah,
all
man.
these
Look it.
guys.
I got mine
Yeah,
too.
brother. Yeah, all these brothers doing great things. You know, for us. And you know, that's one thing I try to tell everybody is know your crews, know your people, get to know them, and when something's off, talk to them.
Yeah.
beat them out of it
Love
if you
it.
have to. I harass some of the guys at my work. When I can tell something's wrong, I'll just keep on them and keep on and be like, man, what's up? What's up? Talk to me. What
Yeah.
you done? And most of the time they'll open up eventually. We're closed off people. That's how we are. We like to internalize everything. And that's not the way to go. If you can at least find one person you can talk to and use that as your outlet. I'm always here. My phone's always on. Uh, like my wife jokes, my phone's on do not disturb when I'm asleep, but if you call twice, it'll come through. So,
I love that, man.
'cause,
Yeah.
I've been there. I know what it's like. I've done dumb things. I've lost people I love. So I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on how to deal with certain situations like that. So
Yeah, it's and I equate that experience and knowledge with same thing when we do fire service, right? Like we love to train, we love to give that knowledge. We don't hoard the knowledge. We want to give it freely to anybody who's there. It's the same thing with that life experience, like the hard times, the bad times, you were at the lowest of your low and you knew you didn't want to do that anymore. And you could see somebody who's having a bad day and you're going to be on them like, hey, I've been there. I can talk to you. Trust me. I've been in some really bad spots. Let's talk about it. It's not sterile. It's not like, I think you're having a bad day and maybe I can help you. No, it's
yeah,
man, I've been there. And that's usually how that conversation starts. Like I've had those bad days and I'm going to share them with you to help you. And that's giving that freely, like we do with our fire knowledge. It's our life knowledge. We're giving it freely, that hopefully it helps somebody
exactly.
else so they don't go down the same dark hole we went down.
Yeah, and if not, then we try to get them some kind of help,
Yeah, man.
professional if it needs to be, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I try to tell some people. I'm like, dude, anything you've done, I've probably done it. Other than super hardcore drugs, I've never done that. But
Yeah.
most everything else, I've screwed up and I've done it.
I think that's why you and I, like, honestly, I feel like it's weird because we didn't even talk about that stuff when we first met. But I just felt like we immediately developed this relationship, and you were just so easy to talk to and relate to. And I feel like your experience is a lot like mine. Like I was living fast for a long time in my 20s, into my 30s. I didn't care about anything other than just getting in fights, drinking, and I didn't care about the repercussions of it. And
Yep.
it took me a long time to figure out, like, that's not the way to live life. Like, I got to be better than that. And then having kids, man, it was an opening experience. But not that I still drank a lot, but I still remember experience where I went drinking with my buddy, and we didn't intend to go out drinking. We were just having like a few drinks to talk about some stuff, and I came back annihilated. This is not a lot of people know about this story, so it was not the shining moment of Mike Goldstein. It was pretty embarrassing, where my kids are still pretty young, and me and my best friend would come home to my house, and I'm annihilated. I'm drunk. I wasn't bad or anything. I was making a scene of myself, and it was funny, but in retrospect, it wasn't funny. Like, and they still talk about it. They remember that day where dad was drunk and falling down and couldn't form his own words. And what I was doing was funny, but again, like the fact that they still talk about that, and they say, man, you were so drunk that day. And they must have been like maybe 10 years old.
Right.
And that's embarrassing. And once that happened, it never happened again, because I don't want to be that person, and I'm better than that. Right. And so, unfortunately, they have that experience. So they even said, like, ever since I saw you do that, I'll never want to drink. And, I mean, it worked to my advantage, but I didn't mean it to happen that way. But ever since then, I've never been that point. I don't really drink anymore anyways. Maybe like, socially I'll have like 2 drinks in me, but, I finally realized, like, I can't be that person. And especially having kids now, you have a responsibility to them to be that positive influence. And you're doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing. And again, that's what I learned a lot from Bears of the Oath is everyone who went up to talk, it wasn't about just them. It was about them giving their life lessons to all of us. And these are people that had, they had the hardest and darkest of times, and that they didn't set out for that to happen. It just happened upon them. And it was really important to hear that from you, and from Sturm, and from Hollick, and Shane. And it's just everybody coming up that week, it just opening themselves up. It was
Yeah,
so heartwarming and so appreciative to be able to be a part of that.
I know, man. I didn't want it to end.
I didn't. I really didn't, dude. That was such an amazing time. I made friends for life. I mean, I mean, man, and Chunk and like Ollie's and Joe. Like, I mean, I'm so happy I got to meet Joe Johnson. Like, he was fantastic, and
I know.
all these people, and it was so cool just to be able. And I didn't want to end. I had a blast. It was those moments where, excuse me, that I wanted my wife to be there with me. I wish she could have been there to experience that and to understand this is what I'm here for. This is why I love to do this, is because
Exactly.
I'm meeting people that are these relationships, and we're going to build this bond that lasts a lifetime. And we've talked about it before. Like, it's not just the fire training. It's great. It's great to get those reps. It's great to get those skills in. But when you can walk away and I'm on that plane and I'm just, my flashbacks of all the people I got to talk to and hug and learn about them, that was super important.
I know, man. Well, Griffin, you know, he's actually down here teaching too.
That's right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm like, you're an hour away, man. I got to find a way we can hook up and have dinner or something. Jason Worthy's down here, you know, like a bunch of, and Tom and not Tom. I think Tom might be coming with Fluger actually.
Oh,
And
nice.
Snow, they're coming over, and I'm like, man, all my brothers are here. Like,
Yeah.
but now I'm teaching too, and I'm like, how are we going to try to hook up and hang out?
Oh, and that's the tough part too, is that
I
when you
know,
have
dude.
these trainings, like, you don't have time to actually sit down
Yes.
and with everybody and just talk and just see how everyone is. It's so fast paced. It's very, very tough. And I talked about that with Shane, and talked about it with Kevin as well. Like, love to see some conferences where we can actually get that quality time together and sit down and enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, maybe even just do a weekend retreat or something with everybody. You know, just
Yeah.
get together and hang out, and not have to worry about building props and getting fires going. And
That's actually a really good. I think you guys mentioned that before. I think it was at the Bears of the Oath. I think we were talking about that. Like, what a great idea to actually just have a weekend or a week of just hanging out with each other, just enjoying each other's company. Again, no worrying about gear. Oh, no worrying about how to wake up at 6 a.m.
oh yeah,
Like, and you just do whatever you want to do, but we're doing it as a group. Whatever the situation's going to be. I think that's a fantastic idea. I think we need more of that team building, that networking of just, maybe get some classrooms in, but other than that, it's straight up just chilling and having a good time and being in each other's presence.
man.
Yeah, man.
Making
Absolutely.
each other better.
Yeah, absolutely. So
do
after we got to do it, right? We got to put our heads together. I know we can make it happen. So after MAFC, do you have anything else coming up for training?
Yes, I'm flying up to Michigan for Great Lake Hot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Sean Duffy and them. So me, Mitch, Todd Shepard, your locks don't work, and Colby Dodd are all putting on the forcible entry class.
Fantastic.
Yeah, man, I'm excited.
I think my now good friend Ricky Bova, I think he's up there. I think he kind of helped set that up, if I remember correctly. I had him on the show, and he is all in. That kid loves the fire service, so I think you're going to see him up there as well.
Sweet.
So that's great. So anything else after that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have to look at my schedule, man.
Well, that's kind of that's a lot.
Yeah, I know October, I believe it is, for the Fools are doing the state conference. I think we're teaching a class there, and then see if I can put in for any more conferences or anything.
There you go. Well, I'll be down in Mississippi in October for the Old South Fools. They're putting on a conference, so I'll be down. Not really in your woods, but I'll be down south. So that's great, man. Well, I'm very happy for you, and I'm happy for everything you do. You're such a positive influence in everything that's going on, and I love talking with you. Thank you so much for being on the show, my friend.
Thank you, dude. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Now, if anyone wants to get a hold of you to get some training from Elite Fire Training, how do they go about doing that?
Instagram, Facebook. I don't think I sent a card to you, but I'll just say you will have a card with, but I don't think I sent it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Just hit me up.
All right. Fantastic.
Elite Fire Training. Yep.
Lead fire training, Jared Robinson. My man, Jared Robinson, thank you so much for being on the C.A.N Report. It was an absolute pleasure, my friend. Yeah, cool, man. All right. So, everybody, I always like to leave it as well. We already actually touched upon it. If anybody needs help and anybody needs to talk to somebody, you can reach out to Next Rung, are doing great things for all of us. There's a lot of avenues to reach out to people who can help you out. But Next Rung is one of them, and I highly recommend them. And if you need help and you can't get a hold of them, or you don't feel comfortable getting a hold of them, by all means, I'm an open book. You can reach out to me. My man, Jared Robinson, he will help you out as well. As you just heard, he's been there. He knows what's up. And his phone is always on. My phone is always on. And please reach out to people if you need help. We're losing too many brothers and sisters, and we love all of you. We want you in this world. With that, though, thank you so much for tuning in to C.A.N Report. Please click like, subscribe. It helps to keep this going. Lets me know that you guys actually like listening to me or watching me. It helps a lot. So thank you all. You all take care. Stay safe. Mazel tov.